Hi everyone, it's Jessie from Inkarella Cards, here today to show you how to mix gouache and make your own ink color. I'm also going to have a bonus video of another way to mix mediums and create fun and unique looks using walnut ink. The materials list is quite long today, but don't worry, there will be a link to all the products and the materials featured in the video description below, with the exception of one or two products, simply because it's been so long and I don't know where I would find them anymore. So here I have a Muji dotted notebook that I like to use for drills or doodling purposes. I also have a black notebook. Unfortunately, this is one of the products that I mentioned that would be difficult to track down because I got it at Morning Glory like over 10 years ago, so I don't know where you'd find it anymore. I have some gouache that I got from Daiso, which is a Japanese dollar store. I have Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, which you're not going to need necessarily, but I am going to show you how to make opaque pastel colors with this. 2 ink pots, and I have my laundry cup full of distilled water with an ink dropper, or with an eyedropper, I mean. So I'm going to show you the basics of how I use gouache and get the consistency that I want. I'm going to start with that Prussian blue gouache that I got from Daiso, and I'm going to squeeze a little bit into my ink pot. Once I do that, I'm going to gradually add distilled water until the ink comes to a watery consistency with slightly higher viscosity than water. I've heard the description making it the consistency of whole milk, which I think is a good rule of thumb. And as you can see, I'm using the pointed end of my straight nib to mix the colors, which is what I've always done, and it just works for me. Then again, I don't own super nice nib holders, and it would be a different story if I did. So now you can see the consistency there, and I'm just kind of poking it so that you can see that in the light. So I'm now going to test this out and see if the ink color is the color that I want and the consistency that I want. So what I'm looking for is a rich navy blue in color and a consistency where there is continuous flow of ink on both the upstroke and the downstroke. So let's take a closer look here. I'm pretty happy with the resulting color. It's a really nice Prussian blue, and there are no gaps in my upstroke either. And this is the type of result that you want when making inks. Now I'm going to mix the two gouache colors that I have here with me into a Kate Spade green. I'm going to take a little bit of each color from the tubes and add distilled water until it looks like the right consistency. After that, I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's not the quote-unquote right consistency. So I'm writing my favorite testing phrase, hello, which is just my favorite thing to write anyway, and I'm going to zoom in and show you what it looks like. So as you can see here, there are gaps in some of these upstrokes, which is not good. It doesn't look good, that's not the way it's supposed to be, and so I'm going to add more water and test it up again. Second try was better, but it's still not what I want it to look like. So I'm going to try that again. And finally, third try is a charm. The ink flows the way that I want it to throughout the whole word, and the color is on point. Here I'm going to show you how I like to make my pastel colors. I think mixing and using these inks are the most fun because you can use them on white or black paper and it'll look awesome either way. So here's when you're going to need the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, and I want to make a pastel mint color, think McDonald's Shamrock Shake. And the way that I do that is I mix it with the Bleed Proof White. If you want to keep the Kate Spade green, you could just use less of the Bleed Proof White and it will lighten the color a lot less. So I'm not being too careful here, and I'm scooping up the bleed-proof white with my nib holder into the ink pot where I have my gouache. To be honest, there are probably better ways of doing this, but I found that this just works for me. So I'm adding more bleed-proof white and also more distilled water because the ink becomes more viscous with the bleed-proof white added into the ink, and we need that water to water it down and make it flow through that pointed pen. I'm going to keep writing and adjusting just the way I did before until I get it to the consistency that I'm happy with. So this time with the pastel color, it only took 2 tries to get to the consistency that I really wanted. I'm also going to test this out on black notebook paper so that I can check the opacity of the pastel color as well. I wanted to include a bonus tutorial on mixing different mediums with your calligraphy, just to demonstrate how endless the possibilities are. Here I have my Muji dotted notebook paper, my mica pigment watercolor, which I've been using for a while now and I've been very, very happy with. I have brushes to use with watercolor and ink. And last but not least, I have walnut ink. Now the first technique that I would like to show you is using walnut ink instead of water when using metallic watercolor. I'm going to dip my brush into the walnut ink and use that moisture to pick up the gold pigment on my metallic watercolor set. I'm then going to use my brush and brush it onto the nib. And this created this lovely effect where the walnut ink was dark, but there was a subtle shimmer in the light. I realize now that I didn't quite capture it well on camera, but you can see it in the little blob that I painted next to my writing. Now I want to show you a similar technique, but instead of using metallic watercolor, I'm going to be using metallic Pearl-Ex powder. I'm using the Solar Gold Pearl-Ex powder and mixing it with walnut ink. So I'm going to write out high like the first time, only this looks completely different and the shimmery gold is a lot more prominent. I'm moving the paper around here to give you a better idea of how that metallic watercolor gold came out, but I just could not capture it. So here I'm just having some fun and writing with that Pearl-Ex walnut ink blend that I just made. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you learned something. Let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see next. You can follow me on Instagram at InkGorillaCards and check out my website at www.inkgorilla.com. Thanks for watching!